the most sort of hilarious or combative post-joke encounter? Like, do you hear from an Ellen DeGeneres? Do you hear from a Theo Von? Do you hear from a Ricky Gervais after the Globes?
Oh. I didn't hear from Theo, but there were some people representing his interests.
What do you hear from them?
Well, I knew, like, I deliberated that joke.
You know, like, it's a very funny thing about making jokes about comics. Like, there's this idea that, hey, you know, we're all family. Yeah, but the truth is that if part of the family is dictating culture, 80% of it, or has that much cultural value, they become ripe for criticism. I mean, it's like, what are you going to avoid that? It's like avoiding any sort of big cultural movement or personality. But I really thought about the Theo thing, and I thought that if he's going to get upset about that joke, then he can go fuck himself. It just, to me, it was like, it's too funny. It's just too funny.
And, I'd never heard from him, but I heard a couple other comics who I was a little rough. I'm like, was it?
It wasn't.
It's not. It's just a roast. These guys are so sensitive, though. There's another big comic that's very mad at me right now for something I had nothing to do with. And it's just sort of like, all right, the free speech thing is limited to not talking about them.
Marc Maron did a round table with other comedians. They usually do this with actors, and Nikki Glaser and Wanda Sykes. And then they usually have some other nobodies who are there. But he addressed the Theo Von joke that he told, and basically saying he never heard from Theo, but heard from some of Theo's friends, and that if Theo doesn't like it, then Theo Von can go fuck himself. So, who was the other big comedian who hates him, who Marc is talking about? I know we're just naturally supposed to think Joe Rogan, because that was the last guy he had a really big problem with. But according to Joe Rogan, after that whole blow up, and remember, Joe Rogan went after Marc Maron and 100% had his boys go after Marc Maron, because it all happened on the same day, and these are all taped podcasts. So not only Joe Rogan, but like the flagrant guys before Akash Singh became a simp, he was there with Andrew Schultz, and they attacked Marc Maron too. But Joe Rogan said later that he got a call from Marc Maron, and Marc Maron apologized to him. As much as I didn't believe that, we've never got a clarification from Marc Maron on that, saying that that did not happen. Now, I think the other big comedian that he's talking about, though, in this one, is Bill Burr. I think him and Bill Burr still got to work it out. Because remember, Bill Burr was going off on Marc Maron, because Marc Maron and David Cross criticized Bill Burr for doing the Saudi Arabia thing, right? And Bill like tanked his whole career, but one of the main people he was mad at was Marc Maron, and one of the things Bill Burr said was, I can't wait to run into that guy, and he's going to be apologizing to me and his tune is going to change when I run into him. So I'm thinking maybe Marc here is specifically talking about Bill Burr and how Bill Burr is so mad at him, but he's saying Bill is mad at him for no reason. I do think Marc criticized him over that Saudi thing now, although David Cross might have done the most insulting. I don't know. Marc Maron has beef with everybody for some reason. And here's the odd thing too, because when all that went down, all of the lefty political people, of course, took Marc Maron's side. But what they couldn't understand, and I think which was Joe Rogan's point about Marc Maron, Joe Rogan didn't care that Marc Maron was smashing him, because Joe Rogan didn't think that Marc Maron was smashing him over his politics. Joe Rogan thinks Marc Maron was smashing him over being jealous of him. Because I've heard from multiple different comedians that Marc Maron is a bitter, jealous guy. Now, not just Rogansphere right-wing comedians either. Like, not just like Bill Burr too, but remember, Jon Stewart hates Marc Maron. Jon Stewart hates him. That goes back to a story back in the day where Jon Stewart got some show. I think this was before The Daily Show, some show on MTV. And like Marc Maron was trashing Jon Stewart about doing this show and how Jon Stewart was a sellout. And then Jon Stewart, for whatever reason, either he left or got fired from that show. And then Marc Maron took his spot on that same show. So ever since then, Jon Stewart, and he's run his mouth about Jon Stewart, and Marc Maron has run his mouth about everybody, apparently. And that's why Joe Rogan and a bunch of the comedians are like, all right, he's using the guise of he's trashing us because of our politics. However, we really know why he's trashing us. It has nothing to do with our politics. He's just jealous of us. And Joe Rogan said he's jealous of him because he had the #1 podcast. And the thinking is that Marc Maron went after Theo Von because Theo Von is a Rogansphere guy, with Schaub and all those dudes. So, but him here addressing the Theo Von thing, I find to be very interesting because Theo Von has never said anything back about Marc Maron. But, I mean, I don't think Marc really cares, but Marc quit his podcast that he wasn't really even doing that much of. But I was wondering how Marc was still going to respond. Because this is what Marc Maron does. Remember, Marc Maron got kind of mad at me one time. Because this was years ago when every time you go on Instagram Live, I would jump into his live chat and just ask him constantly Joe Rogan questions and questions about people in the Rogansphere. And this is before it was even known as the Rogansphere. And he would answer them and trash them, and then I'd make videos and upload it. And then one time, Marc Maron says, "Oh, I gotta watch what I say on here because there's a guy in here who's gonna go make videos about it." So he stopped talking on there, really. So he doesn't even do that. But I was like, Marc Maron still has to trash people. So I guess he's just gonna go on other people's shows and stuff like this and get his trashing in. But as far as the Theo Von thing, I don't think what he said about Theo was even that bad. Now, the real beef is between him and Rogan still, but like I said, Joe Rogan claims, Marc Maron claims. And even I was like, did Joe Rogan hear that right? But Marc has never clarified it. So I'm guessing I'm going to have to go with Rogan's version of events there because Marc has never come out and said, oh, no, he didn't hear that right. And obviously there was a phone call. See, you have to remember about these guys, these comedians, they are going to run into each other. So, I don't know, but let me know your thoughts in the comments.